The Dershow.
Two cases involving deeply corrupted prosecutors, both state cases. Let's start with Georgia, where you have Fani Willis and her boyfriend, both guilty, in my opinion, of blatant perjury, not only in front of a court, not only after taking an oath on the Bible, but in front of millions of Americans who watched them commit perjury. We watched them as they swore in conflict with scientific evidence that they didn't start their relationship, their sexual romantic relationship, until after he got the job. It's not true. There are cell tower evidence that he was in her house at 4 a.m. I'm sure they were just playing Scrabble. I shouldn't presume anything. I shouldn't rush to judgment when a man and a woman are together. The man is driving to her house at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. It's definitely Lego or Scrabble or some other innocent activity. Nobody should ever believe the possibility that maybe there was a kiss or sexual activities. That's such outrageous, beyond any possibility of belief. Well, of course it's true. And it happened over and over and over and over again. And there should be a complete investigation as to the perjury committed by the two of them. And there's still a case pending in Georgia as to whether she is recused. Of course, she should be recused and disqualified. And of course, her whole office should be recused and disqualified. So that charge as well should be dropped. I don't think it's going anywhere, but technically, we don't know whether the state can prosecute and convict the sitting president. There's no real precedent for that. It would be outrageous. Imagine during the civil rights movement if a state could prosecute John Kennedy or any of the other, Lyndon Johnson, who were enforcing civil rights laws, could prosecute them on state charges. And by the way, these state charges don't even involve them being necessarily in the state. Just peripherally, they didn't have to be in the state to be charged. You could charge them if the document was in the state or the signature was in the state, or in the Fani Willis case, if electors were in the state and were improperly, or in the opinion of some, improperly sent to Washington. So you have the power of any state to interfere in the operation of the presidency of the United States by bringing charges. And there's no Justice Department ruling in the state Justice Departments or state Attorney General's office, as there is in the federal court, saying you can't prosecute, you can't try, you can't indict a sitting president. There are no such rules in New York or in Georgia. Whether there should be or not is up to the state, but I can tell you that there is really nothing to the state case against Donald Trump in Georgia, and it should be dismissed. And it should also be dismissed for prosecutorial misconduct. It should be dismissed for a range of other reasons, but it should not go forward. And I predicted it wouldn't go forward. By the way, I predicted with 100% certainty on this show and in my writing that the Smith cases, both of them, would ultimately be dismissed and should be dismissed. So my 100% record in predicting accurately legal proceedings remains intact. Not so good at predicting political outcomes. Acknowledge it. Not going to make any more predictions of political outcomes, but my predictions on legal outcomes is pretty darn solid. I also predict that ultimately the charges in New York will be dropped. But let's get to the charges in New York. Charges in New York are the worst of all the charges. These are charges that should result in investigation of the district attorney. He's now running for office for re-election. He has two cases that he can run on. One is maintaining the conviction in the Trump case, which I don't think he's going to be able to do, but he's hanging on for dear life. He wants to postpone the sentencing 4 years beyond his own election. Remember, he's running for election a year from now, and he has to have a verdict in the Trump case in a notch in his belt in order to win that election. The other case is the Penny case involving a young former Marine who who was a good Samaritan and helped people who believe they were in danger of being seriously hurt or even killed, I don't believe he's going to win that case. Certainly, he's not going to win it ultimately, but I don't think he's going to win it in front of the jury. So if that's the case, then the only thing he has to hold on to is the New York non-disclosure agreement hush money case. There's nothing to that case at all. Again, I challenge anybody to articulate how you can take a misdemeanor, which shouldn't even be a misdemeanor. He didn't do anything wrong. He listed as legal expenses the payments designed to resolve a legal dispute. But let's assume that that was a misdemeanor, a minor misdemeanor like jaywalking. Let's assume that. Statute of limitations was over. So he turned a minor, in my view, non-existent misdemeanor into a felony by claiming that the reason that he committed the misdemeanor was to commit another crime or to hide another crime. No, we don't know what the other crime is, even after the jury verdict, because the jury was instructed, well, multiple choice. It could have been this. It could have been he tried to cheat on his taxes. It could have been he was trying to influence the election. It could have been he was trying. We know what it was about. He was trying to protect his wife and his family from a disclosure that might be false, might be true. Nobody would know whether to believe it or not. And so every day in America, non-disclosure agreements are made. Obviously, in my case, we know I refuse to make anything like that or to pay any money because I didn't do anything wrong. And the woman who accused me ultimately admitted that she may have confused me with somebody else and dropped all the charges. So, but in his case, the woman continued and persisted in the accusation. So he made a non-disclosure agreement, and Bragg magically turned it into. I have to tell you, he's either the most brilliant lawyer in the world or the most corrupt. You pick.